So on this fifth day of January 2020 in SanDiego, we're going to be reading from Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. He wrote this actually in India first, before he came to America. But after writing the entire book, somehow the manuscript was stolen and disappeared. And so Srila Prabhupada wrote it again after he came to America. He actually typed out 5 chapters, and then they gave him a little dictaphone, and he started dictating, which sped things up. But it was a little difficult for the transcribers because of Prabhupada's accent and all that Sanskrit quotes. So you can imagine the production was not as smooth as it was later. But the book has been gone over, and we've brought it up to what Srila Prabhupada intended to have. So in this Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter, text 66, Krishna talks about peace, and he talks about happiness, especially in this verse. So we'll begin with this one, and then we'll move from there. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, second chapter, verse 66. Some of you may know this verse. You can try to repeat. Nasti buddhira yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavyatak shantir ashantasya kutak sukham. Krishna says to Arjuna, one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? And in his explanation called the Purport, Srila Prabhupada says, unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, 529, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal, and when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace, however much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life. Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested, peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So one of the reasons I wanted to explore this topic tonight is because more and more I've read, and we can see it just by living in this world, that people are in a lot of distress. And there's various causes for that. Some is financial, some is climatic, some is political. The political situation seems to be heading toward a cliff. And it just all adds up to a lot of distress within one's mind and anxiety, which we try to solve maybe by chemical means or other means, and we just get further and further into a distressful situation. And so what does Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga, what can it say to this? How can this help to alleviate this problem? So it's interesting that in this second chapter, which is Krishna's really his first chapter of instruction on the Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter is, chapter 1, is all this scene on the battlefield in which Arjuna himself gets into a great deal of distress, not at the prospect of fighting, but at the prospect of participating in killing his friends and those he loves, and causing disruption in society. He has all kinds of reasons why he can't fight. But this is very disturbing to him. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava. He's describing how he's very disturbed, and his natural fighting spirit has been compromised. So in that distress, that existential paralysis, if you will, he approaches Krishna not as a friend, but as a disciple. And he accepts him as a guru, as a spiritual master. And then Krishna, only then does he begin to deliver and impart his transcendental knowledge to Arjuna. Before that, there was some back and forth, but it was more or less on the basis of Kshatriya and the charioteer. You know, in the Vedic battlefield, the charioteer is meant to encourage the fighter. And if the fighter is having cold feet, he says, "Hey, come on, let's go." So Krishna takes that role, but it doesn't work. Arjuna says, "No, I can't fight. I can't, kill my worshipful guru and everything." So then when Arjuna surrenders, Krishna immediately chastises him, which is the prerogative of the guru for the disciple. And we need that, those strong words. It's said in the 11th canto by Krishna himself that Dasmat utsrijya duksangam utsrijya satsu sajjeta buddhiman santa eva sachindandi manovyasaga muktibi. That one should cast far away bad association. Bad association is that which simply keeps us bound on the material level, which is so distressing because it's fraught with destruction at any moment. So tato duksangam utsrijya. Duksanga means association with people or things or music or anything which keeps us bound on the material platform, forgetting that we're pure spirit, forgetting that there is a supreme spirit, God, and our relationship, and maintains our illusion. So one has to cast that far away and associate with the saints, with sadhus, who know the science of God and who can, with their words, this is the part of the verse, with their strong words, can cut out the strong attachments that have built up in our heart and our mind. So Krishna has explained that it is the mind and all of the desires that keep bubbling up in the mind and the modes of nature, what he calls the modes of nature, which keep us in an unpeaceful condition, disturbed condition. Because there's never, as Prabhupada says here in this famous quote, there is no final goal for the mind. There cannot be a final goal for the mind, because everything is always changing and flickering on the material platform. But on the spiritual platform, Krishna is there eternally. No matter what our situation is, if we develop our Krishna consciousness, we can live in that relationship, and all of the changing and the storms that go on the material level will not reach to our core of peacefulness that we have established. That's what he's talking about here. So, without a steady mind, there can be no possibility of peace. How does one get that steady mind? That's been described in the 2 verses before. Hare Krishna. Raga dvesha vimuktais too. One has to become free from raga and dvesha. Raga is material attachment, and dvesha is material abhorrence. This is something that's present on the material plane all the time. We have latent desires that we've cultivated in this life and previous life, right? And we're presented with the objects of the senses, and certain number of them are very attractive to us, the opposite sex, so many different kinds of things, and we want to experience those more and more. Now, the fact that we can't always experience them, that's a source of distress. On the other side, there are a whole list of things that we don't want to experience. Have you been reading about what's going on in Australia? I visited Australia 25 years ago, in 1994. I went there to work on some books, and I stayed in Brisbane. It's very close to the ocean, just like SanDiego, you know. Very idyllic place. We had a Rath Yatra right on the sea, right on the ocean, you know, and it was interesting. Rath Yatra. We were part of a bigger parade, you know, and we do that sometimes. And so we're waiting, and just when we're about to start, the heavens open up and it starts pouring down, you know. And the devotees, you know, they were all dressed to the nines, you know, everybody's painted up, you know, and everything, and everything started to run. It was just huge kind of. But I said, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep chanting and dancing, you know. So we went off with our cart, you know, pouring down. I don't know if we had the drums beating or what. We tried to keep it going, and all the other floats had stopped, you know. They're not going to. And the people were standing on the side. It was a business thing, so there were awnings, you know, and business. And everyone was amazed. We were the only float left that was actually going. And the devotees were chanting in the rain, you know. It was warm, so that was one thing. It was plenty warm, you know. So, but the weather was very mild, like here, you know. It wasn't any extreme thing. And now, because of climate change, you know, we've had climate change here. If you notice, anyone who's lived here. But nothing too horrible yet. But because of the changes in the climate, they're having these huge, horrendous, apocalyptic fires. They say that 1 billion animals have died in this thing. Thousands of those little bears, what do they call them? Koala bears, and the kangaroos, you know. It's horrible, you know. And it's not over yet. Summer just started. Can you believe it? So this is what it means to be in the material world. You're going along, pretty smooth. You got it together. You know, you're working. You got a job. Everything's okay. And then something happens. Something happens from the daiva. They call the adidaivic miseries, like these huge fires or climate. You can't do anything about it, you know. Or something happens where some other human being or animal or bugs. We just had our friend Janardhan Prabhu. He got bit by a spider up in his bunk, and his legs swelled up. He had to go to the doctor to get the venom come out. Who could expect that? You know, what can you do? So that's what this world is all about. Or there's something that happens in your own body and mind. We're all carrying our genes, you know, from previous life. Who knows what disease is going to come? You know, they happen. It happens, right? So these three are always we're always either suffering from them. Usually by the end of my these long lectures that I give, people are suffering from some adiatmic miseries. The knees, the back, you know, when is it going to end, you know. They're always coming at you. So that's what material life is all about, is dealing with these miseries and mostly trying to forget about them. You know, try to enjoy the senses so you'll forget about the impending, you know, rent that you got to pay, whatever it is, right? So that's what. So now he says, Krishna says, just the opposite. Raga dvesha vimuktais. One has to be free of this raga and dvesha, and be able to transcend these dualities of this world, which are going to come one way or another. Vishayan indriyais charan. Even while you're moving amongst the objects of the senses, what he's saying here is that you're not going to solve the problem by going off to some secluded place like the Himalayas or something and sitting in a cave. That's not, first of all, it's impossible for 99.99% of the people to even try doing that. And even if you do it, you're still going to be faced with the same things eventually. So Vishayanu Dhyasharan, even while moving amongst the object of the senses. You know, whenever I read this verse, I always think of Srila Prabhupada when he came to America. Now, he was completely fixed on the transcendental level. Whether he was on that boat, you know, suffering his heart attacks, or coming to America, getting off the boat, being in 20. So you may not know the story, but when he came, all he had, and his most prized possession, was the ammunition, those books that he got printed, the first canto, which was in 3 volumes. I have a set of those on my shelf, my most prized possession, you know. I got to admit, I'm going to hang on to those. Very great treasure. But he would go up and down Broadway. I used to live in Manhattan, New York City. I was raised near Manhattan. I lived there as a devotee and before a devotee. So at that time in Broadway, there were bookshops every so often. I don't know what they have now. And Prabhupada would go into the bookstores and try to sell the books, or at least take them on consignment, you know. He was preaching. He was doing book distribution. He was the first book distributor, without doubt, in America. And so, you know, he had no organization, no followers. He was just following his spiritual master's order. He came all the way to America. He was, you know, had Lord Chaitanya in his heart, you know. And even though I know Broadway, you got this movie theater over there, and you got this restaurant over there, and this liquor shop over there, Prabhupada was completely immune to any kind of disturbance from those, attraction or even repulsion. It's just like, you know, he was on a mission. So this is the perfect example of this verse. Raga dvesha, being completely free of raga and dvesha, attraction and repulsion, even while amidst the attractive or repulsive object of the senses. Atma vashya, controlling oneself, the senses, the mind, intelligence, everything. Vidheyatma. Now this is a key phrase. Vidheyatma means following the regulative principles of freedom. This is a immortal line from this translation. He gets to the prasadam. Prasadam adhigachiti. Now many of you have come here, then prasadam is an integral part of the program. Prasadam usually means, you know, sacred food that's been offered to Krishna, prepared with love, offered with love, and because it's a sacrament. In other words, you're eating not just to satisfy yourself, but to engage in a loving exchange with Krishna. That makes even eating a spiritual act. And so otherwise it can be very entangling and sometimes sinful. So a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control the senses through the regulative principles of freedom can obtain complete mercy of the Lord, the prasadam of the Lord. Now what's the result of this prasadam? It's in the next verse. Prasade sabadukkanam hanir. By getting the prasadam of the Lord's grace and blessings, all of one's miseries, difficult, whether mind, body, emotions, whatever, are hanir, destroyed. Prasanna cetasa. One becomes naturally very clear-minded and joyful. Prasanna. Brahmabhuta prasannatma nashochati nakangchati. It's reiterated in the 18th chapter. And buddhi paryavatishate. This has been the theme in this section of the Gita. How does one get one's intelligence fixed in Krishna consciousness? That can only happen when one is, as described in the previous verse, not allowing one's consciousness to be whipped around by attraction and aversion, but being fixed on Krishna within the heart and seeing him also externally everywhere. This is what Bhagavad Gita helps us to train the mind to do. So, so then the next verse, for one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence no longer exist. And those are the ones I described. The miseries that are caused by our own body and mind, we all have experienced that. Miseries caused by others. I always bring up this play. I used to be an existentialist when I was a kid. I thought I was, 17, 18, middle of the 60s. Jean Paul Sartre. I don't know if these names mean anything to you, but it was big in those days. And so he wrote these plays. One play called No Exit, I think it was. And I only remember one line from that play. But it says a world of where he was at. And he says, hell is other people. Wow. How dystopian is that, right? For devotees, the more the merrier, right? More people can join in the kirtan, can hear Krishna God. So that's the adi-bhautic miseries. And then the adi-daivic, we dealt with them, at any moment. Don't forget, we're living on asphalt here, right? There can be an earthquake. Yeah, we've had one here. I remember we had one. It wasn't that serious, but I was chanting my rounds upstairs. We used to have the bookstore upstairs. I told this story. And suddenly, it's like, you're like on a ship in water suddenly, I ran downstairs. I always say I should have run toward the deities, but I didn't. I ran out the door. That's where I was at. And then the sidewalk is the same thing. It's like it didn't help to get out of the building. Of course, it didn't, Luckily, and then we had a different set of chandeliers, but they were swinging, and that was as bad as it got, but that was a wake-up call, This is the nature of our life, really. So, but one can be, one can be steady even in disturbances, and satisfied in Krishna consciousness. So this is really the means of navigating our present situation in this world. Because whatever it was in previous times or future times, we live in times that are very distressing. Even though, it may just be in the mind because we know so much. Like, we didn't know what was going on in Malaysia before, but then we read about some horrific crime that took place there and suffering, and that disturbs the mind, Even though it's like 10,000 miles away. But now because we know about it, because of the internet, right? So many things you can be more disturbed in your mind. You can't really do anything about it, right? So how to deal with all these problems, this ongoing distress, internally, externally, everywhere. We need to have a place in our own heart, because it's all a question of consciousness, where we're fixed. And that comes from understanding the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and actually practicing. So the Bhagavad Gita gives us so much important information that can help us in our practical lives. This second chapter is so wonderful. The first lesson, as he says to Arjuna, Dehinosmin yata dehe, is that you are a spirit soul. You're not this body. And every single one of us has transmigrated through so many bodies to come to this body. Isn't it? All of us can remember, when you're 7, 8 years old, you remember that? I remember some of the things back then, All right, so then we went on, we got to be 10, that was a big watershed. Well, now I'm 10, Actually, every decade, if you think about it, when you turn 20, whoa, I'm almost 21, 30, my God, I'm not 25 anymore, I'm on downhill. Whatever, every 50, I'm 50 years old, are you kidding me? But devotees don't quite have that, I turned 70 a few years ago. It says, oh, okay, Same kirtan, same mantra. So, how to get this basana cetasa, be satisfied in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna teaches this principle that we're transmigrating now through different bodies. We're thinking it's the same body, but the body's changing. Right? I have a completely different body than I had when I was 8 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old. It changes so slowly that you think it's the same body, but it's actually a completely new one. And we have a different mind, right, than we had when we were 7 or 8. All right, so I have a different mind, I have a different body, but it's the same me. So what's the me? What is it that didn't change? The soul, the Atma. Yeah. A very important revolutionary understanding, because as long as we're identifying with this external body as me, and all the relationships with the body, those are the ones that are really important, I should think about. We're forgetting our true self. We're actually living a dream world, a dream life. It's actually like that. Because after all, if you just accept the principle of reincarnation, just even theoretically, so we've had previous lives before. One life, many lives, right? So those were filled, maybe, okay, let's assume that we were human beings in our last life. That whole lifetime, 75 years, 80, whatever it was, right? We had so many concerns, different family, we probably spoke a different language, different, and different history back there in the, early 1900s or whatever it was, All of that was so important at the time, and now we can't even remember it. Doesn't mean a thing, right? That's why, when kids grow up, when they're at a certain age, I remember when I was, like 8 or 9, the most important thing in my life was getting a bicycle, like my friends, That was it. And my parents knew it, And eventually I got my bicycle, All right. And it was mobile, back and forth, and I was riding like, okay, life is good, And then a few years passed, and I got in, more into school. I got into high school, And that bike, gradually I stopped riding it, and after a while it got, collecting dust in the basement, It wasn't that important to me. Then, of course, you get to be 17, 18, whoa, I can drive, right? Oh, man, now my father, let me use the car. Oh, cool, now I can drive. But then, okay, we can drive. Then after a while, all right, I got to get on the highway, go to work. And driving is just, one of the other things you do, right? It's not... In other words, things are important to us at one stage in our life, and then we give them up. Sometimes we forget them completely. So just think of your whole life that way. Everything that we regard as important, which is all related to this body and this mind, right, which is not us, will eventually, we'll be detached from it, it will become completely insignificant. So in Krishna consciousness, we realize that now, and we try to use the body for what it's intended for, as a vehicle to connect us back to Krishna, so that we can get our actual spiritual body, which we have already. We have to recover it, or revive our understanding of it. We all have, by nature, we're all eternal servants of Krishna. This is Lord Chaitanya's first teaching to Sanatana Goswami. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. His teachings are non-different from Krishna's. And when Sanatana Goswami, his first disciple, surrendered to him and said, "Who am I? Why am I suffering so much? If I don't know the answer to these questions, what is my erudition and knowledge, and what does all that count for? Nothing." So he surrendered. He was a big member of the government, right-hand man of the king, or the mullah, whatever you want to call it, Muslim government. Quit all that, gave it all up, bribed his way out of jail and made his way to Vrindavan. And on the way, he met Lord Chaitanya in Varanasi, in Benares, and he was instructed for 2 months. And so what's the first answer? This is for us also. This is Prabhupada worked so hard to bring us this book and this verse, and so that we will embrace it. The answer is, who are you? Jivera, the jiva, that's us, the soul. Jivera, Krishnera, what is it? Jivera Swarupoi, Krishnera Nityadas. This word Sarup is very important. Sarup means your actual form that doesn't change. This form is not your Sarup. It's constantly changing. Even in the 20 minutes you've been sitting here, it's changed. And then gradually it'll change more. I don't look like what I looked like when I was 7 anymore, or even when I was 50. It's changing, and eventually it'll disappear forever. But your Sarup will never disappear. You are eternal, I'm eternal, and we all have our specific form with which we can express our love for Krishna in a unique way. It's called the rasa, mellow. This is the founding philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. So, Jivera Swarupoi Krishnera Nityadas, but the verse goes on, very important. Krishnera tatasta shakti beda bed prakash. And it fits right in with, of course, with Bhagavad Gita. It's the same person speaking. This is more elementary, but still, it's very important for us to know. We are not only Krishna's eternal servants, but we are his energy. It's called marginal energy, tatasta shakti. What does that mean? So this requires we understand a little bit, as Krishna will speak about in the Bhagavad Gita, about the different kinds of energy that there are. Krishna has, everything is Krishna, if you see through his energies. In other words, what do we see here? Right? There's this solid matter, there's this radiant energy here, there's the air, which we don't see, but we've experienced by breathing. We understand it's got to be there. There's all kinds of liquids circling through our body, right? Earth, water, fire, air, right? The space that we're all sitting in, ether. Hare Krishna, we have to be quiet. I'm sorry. And then the subtle energies, which we all experience, but we can't see. The mind, the intelligence, and the ego, the sense of self. Krishna says these 8 are the building blocks of everything in this material world. They're my external energies. I created them, but they're not alive. They're not conscious. They're called apara prakriti, the lower energy. But besides these, there's the para prakriti. Who can say who that is? Madhavendra. What is the para prakriti? The soul? Yes, the living entities, the jivas who are sustaining this universe. We're moving it. Just like this body. Why is it still a body? Why does it move? Why does it work? Because we're in it. As soon as we leave, it's the end of it. It just reverts. You have to burn it, bury it, get rid of it. It just reverts back to the energies. So these are all Krishna's energies. Therefore, he says there's nothing in existence that is not coming from me, because these are all my energies. Now, if we can see the world that way, how can we forget Krishna? You can't, because everything you experience, he helps us. Rasoham apsakonteya prabhasmi shashishuriya. Whatever you taste, when you taste water, that taste is me. When you see this light of the sun and the moon, that's my energy. Remember me. The fragrance of the earth, even sex life, it's not against religious principle, that's me. In other words, he's giving us a way to remember him through the material energy. Very important. This is rudimentary. But more advanced than that, if we understand that we're his servants, how to use the material energy to connect to Krishna in his service. And then we see our own bodies are nothing but paraphernalia. Just like we have this wonderful paraphernalia to worship the Lord. You've seen the Arctic paraphernalia and the whisks, right? And when it gets hot, we have the fan, the peacock fan, the altar itself, this whole temple. These are all nothing but earth, water, fire, air, ether, right? But they're being used by devotees to worship Krishna, and therefore they become spiritualized. Similarly, our body itself is an agent by which we can serve Krishna. Beginning with the ears, listening, and the voice and the tongue for chanting. So then we can respect every body, and as a potential for worshiping Krishna. And that's why Prabhupada was so eager to bring people to Krishna consciousness, because it means that Krishna will have more servants and Krishna will be happy, and the people who take up their Krishna consciousness will be happy and peaceful, because that is not removed at the time of death. Everything else is taken away. Krishna takes it away. What's that line? It's famous, Mrityu sarvaharas chaham. He says in the 10th chapter, as death, I take everything away from you, materially. But whatever spiritual assets you have, there's no loss or diminution. That he doesn't take away. That goes on to your next life. And if we're perfect, and we have absolutely no desire for the illusory, flickering material happiness, our only desire is to stay connected to Krishna and Krishna consciousness, then we don't come back. That's real peace. Then, the eternal peace of going back to Godhead. Not some impersonal merging into the white light. That's unnatural, because we have a sarup. Our sarup, a form. We're not formless. Our sarup is as a coward boy, as a coward girl, as a cow, who knows. But we'll be fully Krishna conscious and fully peaceful and happy in that relationship with Krishna. So this is actually how we can become peaceful and happy even in this world, no matter all the craziness that's going on. And that we can get through it. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? It's like we have King George III in charge of everything. You know who he was? The Mad King in England. So in that situation, there's a lot of anxiety, right? The bus driver just went crazy, and we were riding in the bus at 70 miles an hour. So, but what does the devotee do? And I said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. I'll tell you a story. Bhadri Narayana Maharaj, he told us this in the class more than once, I think. When you've been here long enough, you hear these stories again and again. So, as you probably know, he's been the GBC representative since 1987. That's over 30 years he's been the GBC. It's a big burden, believe me, trying to run this society. So in that capacity, he's always flying to India many times, And this year, I don't know if he always went there, but he went the western route. You go over the Pacific, So he'd been there before, and I forget what airline he was going, but he was going into Japan. And he knew from experience that there's a part of the way the climate and the weather works. There's an area just east of Japan that's very prone to high turbulence. So the way he described it, he was sitting next to this lady who really did not want to talk to him. She thought he was weird, whatever. And Hare Krishna. And he says he was dressed, she had all this makeup on, and very toy. So he was just reading his book, chanting Hare Krishna. So they hit the turbulence. And it's heavy turbulence, and people were bouncing off the ceiling a little bit, and then everyone thought the plane was going to crash, So everyone's freaking out. He's screaming and yelling. He's saying, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Rama. And he had a, there are other devotees who went through this too, or each one has a unique story. And so after that, the way he describes it, her makeup was all askew, her hat was askew, and she was traumatized. And then she finally said, "What were you doing?" You weren't freaking out like we were. And he explained he was chanting Hare Krishna and he was ready to go. The same thing happened with Narahari Maharaj at the time from Miami. Anyway, it's a story. But that's what a real devotee does. He says, oh, this is it. This could be it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's what you're training for. The whole thing, it's a very simple process. Krishna describes it in the 8th chapter. There's 3 verses that encapsulate the essence of Krishna consciousness there. He says, Antakale chamame vas modan mukva kalevaram yukvyadi samadbhavam yasti nat yatra sangshaya. Some of you may know this verse. Antakale, simple. end time, the end of this body. In other words, death, when death is coming. Who, if you can remember me, antakale chamame vasmaran, mukva, when you give up the body, kalevram, give up mukva kalevram, yakpriyadi samadbhavam, one attains to my nature, one comes back to me. There's no doubt about it. And then the next verse, he gives the general principle. And this is one we should not forget, because this is what the whole thing is leading to. Yang vapi smarang bhava chajachante kalevanam tantamevaiti konteya sadatad bhava bhavita. Whatever is the dominant thought at the time when you actually leave the body, that will determine your next life without fail. And therefore, the third verse is a therefore, so we should, it's good to listen up. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudjita mayapatam no buddhi mame vaishyasya sangshaya. So he's speaking to Arjun, whose duty is fighting, of course. Hare Krishna, Mataji? We have to keep him quiet. So he says, therefore, at all times and in all places, O Arjun, remember me and fight. Now, we can put in our own duty and our own job and our own activity in there instead of fighting. His duty was fighting, yudhyacha. But mama nusmara, remember me and work. Remember me and go to school. Remember me and take care of your kid, whatever you're doing. This is what he's saying. With your mind and intelligence dedicated to me, you will certainly come to me. So this is what Krishna consciousness aims at. It aims at reforming our whole lifestyle so that we can progressively remember Krishna more and more. Now, an essential part of that, of course, is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Let's all chant once together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. That in itself is enlivening. So, this was the great gift of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is this Sankirtan. Now, Hare Krishna existed before. He quoted from the Upanishads, which were written in the Vedic age, the Kali Santarana Upanishad. This is very nice. There's one verse, and I don't know if it's the whole Upanishad. Sometimes they're real short. But it quotes the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, and then he says, Iti shodashakam nam kali kalmasha nashanam natak padataropaya sarva vedeshu drishyate. You can search through all the Vedas. The Hare Krishna mantra. You can search through all the Vedas. You will not find a more efficient way of counteracting the evils of this age, of Kali, than these 16 names, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. So it's right there in the Upanishads. And we, of course, have the Briya Naradiya Purana verse, this famous verse that is often the first verse that devotees learn because it's so easy. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, 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 gatadanyada. I put it into a little poem. If you want to achieve the supreme goal of life in this age, when dissension and chaos abound, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way that can ever be found but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name with a stout-hearted vow, and to pray, O Lord Krishna, O friend of the poor, let my head ever unto your lotus feet bow. Now, I'll end on this because it's getting a little late. And that is that the thing about Krishna consciousness is that you find that the process is very joyful and easily performed, as Krishna says at the beginning of the ninth chapter, right? Susukam kartam abhyam. So that makes it feasible for us. Means that none of who here is ready to commit himself to going off to the Himalayas for to meditate in silence for 100 years. We had one very wonderful devotee who did that, Radhanath Swami, and he came back, right, full of potency. Yeah, so he's a very wonderful devotee, but that's very, very rare, And wonderful thing is it's not necessary. In Krishna consciousness, because in Ashtanga Yoga, you got to be alone. You go alone, otherwise you'd be distracted. Just like we had our little distraction, I mean, kids are going to be kids, But you can imagine if any little thing, any other person would be distracted, How can you live like that? You have to. So, but it's not necessary. It's just the opposite. The more the merrier. If we had 200 people in the kirtan, imagine how ecstatic it would be, I know in Ukraine they have these festivals, 5,000 people, 10,000 devotees come, in September they have these wonderful festivals. Then it's just overwhelming. I've never been, some of you may have been to the Puri Rath Yatra, when they literally have thousands and thousands of people chanting, So the idea is that, as explained in this verse, there's no other way but the chanting in this age. And the Bhagavatam also says the same thing. In the 12th canto, I think Mother Bhumi, which is the Bhumi Gita, and she's describing the evils of the age as Kali Yuga progresses. And then after all of this description, which is an amazing description because it's just like what we experience today. Prabhupada would always point out, before he came to America, he of course was steeped in Bhagavatam. And so he's saying, yes, lavanya kesha. This is one of the qualities. That men will think that they look very beautiful with very long hair. So he didn't see that in India, but when he came to America, in the middle of the hippie days, everyone was growing their hair. I even had my hair down to here. I didn't have never got into the beard thing. But, so Prabhupada said, the Bhagavatam is confirmed. And it's true. There's so many things. You can't get justice unless you pay off the judge. It's right there in the Bhagavatam. So after that whole long list, there's this verse. It's just like the one from Naradiya. It says, Kale doshana de rajan, asti eko mahadguna, kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param vajait. It said, this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Doshana de, O king. Shukadev speaking to Pariksit. But there's one very special quality, asti eko mahadguna, that just by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can become mukta sangha. Mukta sangha means in this context, free of material attachments and param vajait, and thus go back to Godhead. So we should take full advantage of this special benediction of this age and learn to chant regularly and take up japa. If anyone's interested in japa, we have so many beads, we can show you how to chant. It's as simple like a rosary. It helps you to concentrate and it keeps track of the chanting. Lord Chaitanya wanted us to chant a certain number of times a day. There's a funny story about that, then I'll end. Is that when he was in Puri, I think I told this, but some of you weren't here, that his friends from Navadvip would come every year, all of his devotees. Advaitacharya would be on the procession. They would walk, with kirtan. And a big procession. And then they would walk all the way from Nadia, Bengal, to Orissa, where Jagannath-puri is. I don't know how many miles, 700, 800,000 miles. So they're all walking. And then when they came, they would stay for the 4 months of the rainy season, Chaturmasya, which includes the time for the Ratha Yatra, and spend that time with Lord Chaitanya. Very ecstatic time. 20 years it happened. And so while he was there, they would be set up in different places, and each one would invite Lord Chaitanya for lunch. The sannyasi, and they would cook up a big feast. It was a wonderful thing. So Lord Chaitanya, when they started coming, he said, I will not accept the invitation of anyone who is not a lakpati. Now the Indians know what a lakh, right? Pati. Normally that means possesses at least 100,000 rupees. Rupee was something of value in those days. Now it's like, 2 cents, 1 cent. Dollar isn't much either. Anyway, so they all got depressed because they're all, many of them householders, but they're poor. They live simply. No one is a lakpati, so they're depressed. He said. So he laughed. He said, no, I don't mean 100,000 rupees. I mean 100,000 names a day. That's 64 rounds. Anyone who chants that many, they can invite me for lunch. So that we can do. We're already doing. So that became the standard in Lord Chaitanya's Sampradaya. And when the Gaudiya Math was founded by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's guru, that was the standard, chanting 64 rounds, you can imagine. And not only that, but I heard that he didn't leave a japa period. Anyone who comes, for the early morning, we have our Mangalarti at 4:30, then we have a Tulsi Puja at about 5. And then it's 5:15 to 7:15, we're sitting, that's time to chant japa, right? You can get almost all your rounds done during that time. It's reasonable. Imagine, okay, now you want them to chant 64 rounds, but try to work it in somewhere in your service during the day. Okay, Anyway, that's what it was. So when Prabhupada came to America, and the first devotees got serious, they wanted to get initiation. Then he said, okay, here are the rules, the 4 rules, very important, and 64 rounds a day. He was a member of the Gaudiya Math, So they said, okay, we'll try it. So they all had these big round beads. Nobody had any Tulsi beads or anything. They bought them we used to call them the 5 and dime. Now it would be called the dollar store, some play beads or something big. So they had strung them, and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. So they tried to chant 64 rounds at that speed. And they came back to Prabhupada and said, no, if you want us to do anything else, we won't be able to chant 64 rounds. All right, 32, absolute minimum. Okay, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. No way, Prabhupada. Swamiji, we won't be able to. 16, absolute minimum. And that became the minimum, But it's the minimum. And he would sometimes say you should chant 25 on Ekadashis, like that. But the point is that because Prabhupada gave us that became the standard. And of course, there was a lot of kirtan going on. There was a lot of chanting. So we have to adopt this chanting as a central part of our sadhana. If we're interested in really advancing devotional service, doesn't mean you have to move into the temple. We don't have much room anyway. But you're all welcome, provided you're a certain age. No, whatever. But at home. In other words, make your home into a temple. You have you have a certain independence there, right? What you put on the wall, the music you hear, what comes on the TV screen, that's all in your control. And if you become serious, you want to do those things, hear those sounds, see those images that remind you of Krishna. And then and of course study Srila Prabhupada's books, meet together in your family and chant Hare Krishna, and get serious about chanting Hare Krishna. And then the first installment is a sense of peacefulness and security. And a lot of anxiety can be blown off because Krishna is giving you a blessing. And you're transcending the bodily concept of life. So that's my little disquisition on happiness and peace through Krishna consciousness, which is such a treasure, and it can expand until we actually are with Krishna in the spiritual world. So we have a few moments for any questions or comments. And if you don't have any, I'm going to regale you with a few poems. Yes, you have a question? We have a mic for her. Is it on? There, it's live. Now hold it. Yeah.
Sometimes, there's I can say anxiety or maybe some fear or, some negative thoughts. So it's okay to chant Hare Krishna? I mean the mantra at that time?
It's always good to chant Hare Krishna in any circumstance.
Yeah,
it's absolutely the best thing to do in that circumstance.
Yeah, but but at that time I feel that I'm escaping that.
Don't you want to escape it? It's just fear means a mental thing. It's that's exactly what you want to do. What is the origin of fear? It's all in the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is tremendously rich. Bhayam, tritiya, binaveshtakshat, isharapetasya vipariyo smriti. This is what's fear? Fear is caused by turning away from Krishna and becoming absorbed in his material energy and forgetting all about Krishna, trying to enjoy. Prabhupada gave the peace formula. Understanding Krishna is the real enjoyer, So, we become fearful by forgetting Krishna, turning away, trying to exploit his material energy. So, as soon as you chant Hare Krishna, you're turning back to Krishna, And don't just chant. Chant from the bottom of your heart. Oh, please, Krishna, take me back. Don't let me forget you again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. I chant one prayer every time I greet the deities. I'm always here at the morning. As long as I'm in town, I'm here at 7:15. And then when you come to Radha and Krishna, there's a beautiful prayer from Rupa Goswami. His book he called the Utkalika Balari, which is the creeper of longings that he's revealing in his heart. So what's the prayer? We can all chant this prayer. Pashupada Varinya Nandana Vadametang Maharata Yehuvam Bhavatu Panayo Bhave Bhave Bhavatoreva Padambujeshu Me. This is just like Lord Chaitanya's prayer. He's teaching us, and Rupa Goswami is teaching us. So he says, O Radha Krishna, children of the best of cowherd men, this single boon I beg from you again and yet again. In all the countless births my endless sins will make me meet. Let all my love flow toward your lustrous lotus feet. That's what Hare Krishna means. That's a prayer to Radha and Krishna. Please take me back. Let me serve you eternally. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Prabhupada said it's a prayer. Please engage me in your service. So when we're actually thinking like that and absorbed in that prayer and chanting Hare Krishna, there's no question of fear or anxiety. Even at the time of death, if you remember that, that's perfection. That's perfection. That's what we're training for. So by all means, as soon as you feel a little anxiety, a little Hare Krishna, Krishna, and let it, take shelter of Krishna. Isn't that what the Leela teaches us in Vrindavan Leela? What happened when the fire came? What happened when Arishta came? What happened when Indra went off his rocker and started trying to inundate? Krishna, Krishna, save us, right? And he saved them. So that's what we should do also. It's a perfect response. Always do that.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any question? We have one from Dhanavari Mataji. Must be very significant. Yeah, you should take it. We have a runner. We need someone to run the mic.
Thank you.
Or walk it anyway.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for a wonderful class.
Glory to Prabhupada.
Thank you. So would you talk a little bit more about the sloka that you said from second chapter, Prasade Sarva Dukhanam Hani Rasyopajayate, the one you mentioned?
We started with that.
Would you talk a little bit more, or I missed out the translation? If you can repeat that, would be helpful.
Well, the verses all of course go in a sequence, and the key is Raga Dvesha Mukta. See, Krishna is describing before the verse in text 62 and 63 the means of degradation, how we become degraded. Dhyayato vashayan pungsa sangastesha bhajayati. You become absorbed in contemplating some object of the sense with the aim of enjoying it. And by that contemplation, dhyayato means meditating, vishayam, so you develop attachment. Sangastesha bhajayati. Sangat sanjayate kama. And that attachment develops into kama, means like a very strong desire to enjoy, right? And kama krodha vijayate. When it is inevitably frustrated, you become angry. Now, if you can't express that anger, you turn it inward, you become depressed. That's the flip side of anger, and that's all over the place now. So that all starts with desire. You're allowing yourself to contemplate the object of the senses, right? And krodhat bhavati sammoha, you become completely bewildered. Samhat smriti vibhrama, you forget everything. Smriti brangshat buddhi nasho, then your intelligence is destroyed and you fall into material pool, you're finished. When all we've got over the animals is the higher intelligence. If we allow it to become corrupted by trying to use it in sense gratification, it's a tragic waste of human life. So, but on the other hand, raga dvesha vimuktais too. Yeah, you can turn it off. Just pull it down. You see where the green light is? That's it. Thank you. That if one, even when the senses are moving on their objects, if you can become free of raga and dvesha by atmavashaya, controlling the self, controlling the senses, and following the regular principles of freedom, which are the principles of bhakti, then you get prasad. Prasade savadukkanam. When you get that prasad, which is Krishna's grace, all your difficulties, your pains are destroyed. Hanir and prasanna cetasa. One becomes, prasanna has two meanings. It means very clear, lucid, pellucid. I don't know if you know that term, pellucid. Very clear mind, peaceful, like water that's no longer agitated, in a pool and becomes very calm, and naturally joyful. Because we are naturally full of ananda. Anandamaya Vyasad, in this Vedanta Sutra describing Krishna, we're part and parcel of Krishna. We are by nature full of bliss also. Where is it? We're not blissful now all the time. Maybe we get a little pleasure, and then depths of despair, whatever. No. We're supposed to be always Ananda, just like Krishna. He's always blissful. So we're part and parcel of Krishna. Buddhi parivatisate, your intelligence is fixed. And then the verse I started with, Nasti buddhi yuktasa, he says, without this linking to Krishna, ayuktasya, then your buddhi cannot be fixed. And without being linked, you cannot have bhavana, fixed in happiness. And you cannot have peace. And how can there be any peace without how can there be any happiness without peace? In other words, to get that peace, you have to overcome the dualities of desire and hate. And the only way to do that is by turning your attention to Krishna. You turn your attention to Krishna. We have some freedom. We can think of this or we can think of that. So let's think of Krishna. And the best way is through His holy name. And then you can become satisfied in that. And I'll end with this one more poem. And this is a higher, I was chanted one thing about the holy name, Nasti Buddhi, what is it? Kalonasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva. So this is a wonderful verse by DravidaDasa Goswami describing his experience of the holy name and instructing his tongue. You can do that. Instructing his tongue to always chant the holy name and taste. Radheti nama navasundara siddhu mugdam. Krishneti nama manorabhadagara dugdham. Sarvakshanam surabhiraga himena ramyam kritvatadaiva pibame rasane tridarte. Now, when we chant Hare Krishna, we're chanting actually Radha and Krishna. Everyone knows that, right? Hare is the Bhakti for Hara, which is a name for Radharani, which means she who steals away Krishna's heart. All right? And then you have two names of Krishna. Krishna, all attractive, and Rama, he who is the reservoir of all ananda and bliss. So Radha and Krishna. An excellent fresh nectar drink. An excellent fresh nectar drink with endless subtle tastes. Such is the name of Radha, by whom all three worlds are graced. Condensed milk that is wonderfully delicious, thick and sweet. Such is the name of Krishna, in whom all attractions meet. Now mix these drinks, O thirsty tongue, and add the cooling spice of love, a prize the wise will try to buy at any price. And then at every moment, drink this beverage most fine, and make my heart supremely blissful, peaceful, and divine. Now, if you would just please join me one more time in chanting Hare Krishna, then we'll have a kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanandi, Hare Hare Bo, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.